to the introduction of the R632 GNSS receiver presented by Hemisphere GNSS. Thank you for joining us, and please know that all questions can be asked in the chat section to the right. All questions are hidden from other participants and will be answered by Hemisphere employees. The Hemisphere Marine Technology team consists of me, Matt Steele, Product Marketing Manager for Marine Products, and Martin DeKevit, Business Development Manager for Marine. Both Martin and I have been in the GNSS industry for many years, and we're excited to introduce you to a new and exciting product like the R632. The agenda for today includes an introduction to the R632 GNSS receiver. We will explore the LED status indicators, an assortment of connectivity options, different accessories, new features, and a complete walkthrough of the R632 Web UI. Additionally, we will touch on Hemisphere support functions, along with next steps you can take to get more information about the R632 and the entire Hemisphere GNSS product line. The R632 has been developed to replace the RV30 and the VS330 GNSS receivers. The R632 offers Hemisphere's most advanced technology, including LiDAR Digital 2 ASIC and Cygnus interference mitigation technology. R632 is the latest and greatest GNSS receiver that Hemisphere has to offer. The R632 is driven by the state-of-the-art Athena RTK engine, allowing for best-in-class performance in the most challenging environments. The R632 is capable of tracking every GNSS signal in the sky, including GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, Beidou, QZSS, and NavIC, or IRNSS. The R632 is powered by the Vega 28 positioning and heading board, which allows the R632 to be used as either a position-only receiver or a position and heading receiver. The great thing about the R632 is that the change from position-only to position and heading performance does not require a hardware change. The R632 can be configured to include heading with a simple activation code. When the R632 is activated for heading, customers will enjoy the ability to separate the primary and secondary antennas up to 10 plus meters apart, which provides upwards of 0.01 degrees of heading accuracy. And as always, the Hemisphere products, with all Hemisphere products, the R632 is completely Atlas Global Correction Service capable, meaning you will have access to Atlas Basic, Atlas H30, and Atlas H10, offered in both an on-land subscription and offshore subscription. The R632 offers easy-to-view status LEDs. These LEDs include power, satellite, Bluetooth, cellular, Wi-Fi, UHF radio, and heading. In addition to these LED functions, the LEDs act as a loading bar for updates related to firmware or application software. The LEDs will turn on from left to right to indicate the receiver is currently being updated, which is a nice feature to know that the receiver is updating properly. The R632 has a versatile array of connectivity options, including secondary GNSS antenna, which is a TNC connection, a power connector, which is a 2-pin ODU or LEMO style connector, and a DB26 pin connector, which includes 2 RS485 serial ports, 1 RS232 serial port, 1 USB 2.0 interface, 1 PPS out interface, 1 event interface, 1 CAN interface, and 1 Ethernet port. Additionally, we have the primary GNSS antenna, which is a TNC connector, an LTE cellular antenna, which is an SMA connector, and a UHF antenna, which is also an SMA connector. The singular DB26 connector can be broken out into multiple cables and support different communication protocols, including USB, Ethernet, RS232, RS485, and CAN or NEMA 2000. All these protocols have different cables, making the R632 flexible and ready for most application integration. The different application cables are offered as an a la carte option, meaning you only order the cables you need, which is specific to your application, making integration and cable management simple. Below are different options of cables, including a DB26 to 2DB9 RS485 and CAN for direct serial or CAN communication, DB26 to DB9 null for external radio, a DB26 to DB9 standard for standard serial connection, a DB26 to RJ45 or an Ethernet port for use of reference station or into a network device, a DB26 to USB for general use with a higher bandwidth capability than serial, It also has the option for power SAE, power unterminated, and also a DB26 to DB26, which couples nicely with the breakout box. The breakout box allows the DB26 to break out into usable I/O, including an RJ45 port, 3 DB9 serial ports, and a USB 2.0 port. This is great for getting to know the R632 and testing different applications. The R632 offers a variety of antenna options from GNSS antennas to HF and LTE antennas. Again, these options are offered a la carte to fit customer applications. Touching back on the support of signals, R632 is one of the most robust and complete GNSS systems in the market, supporting all known constellations and the latest signals. These new signals include GPS L2C, GLONASS G3, Beidou Phase 3 with ACEBlock, Galileo Altblock, QTSS Lex, and NavIC IRNSS. R632 offers a variety of wireless options. UHF 400 and 900 megahertz, which support Citel radios, Packcrest, TrimTalk, TrimMark, as well as a cellular, internal cellular GSM, LG or 4G LTE modem, as well as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. All these wireless options come with an easy-to-view status LED to give you confidence and guarantee the R632 is working the way you want it to. The R632 comes with 8 gigabytes of internal storage, which is great for logging and storing data. In addition, the R632 comes with an option to expand the storage up to 32 gigabytes with an external SD card slot. That is weather-tight and rated for IP67. The internal and external storage can be monitored through the web UI. R632 offers multiple N-trip options, supporting N-trip client, N-trip caster, and N-trip server. These N-trip options are easy to configure and available to be set up through the internal web UI. In addition to N-trip, the R632 is capable of supporting Ethernet. Using standard TCP/IP protocol, the R632 can support multiple TCP/IP sockets, running as a static IP configuration or connected to a DHCP network. The R632 is easy to set up and configure to output NEMA messages, including GGA, GSA, and GSV, to name a few. The web UI has 6 main areas: a summary page, a system information dropdown, configuration, download, system management, and configuration set. Please stand by while I show you the web UI.
So here's the R632 Web UI walkthrough. Starting out, we have a summary page that talks about the device model, device serial number, as well as the GNSS model. This one has the Vega 28, and the GNSS serial number, which is the ESN, which you can use for activations and subscriptions. Additionally, we have longitude, latitude, height, as well as status indicators for internal memory as well as external memory. Under the system information page, this is a little bit deeper dive into the R632. It talks about the IMEI, the hardware versioning, as well as the boot, OS, app, web, and MCU versioning. It gives you some information on the GNSS model as well as the ESN for the GNSS model. And it also shows you what firmware is currently on the GNSS model as well as the GNSS functionality. This R632 is capable of 20 Hz, RDK, raw data, multi-frequency, multi-GNSS, heading, and Atlas. Below that, you'll see the radio model, as well as the DHCP MAC address information, as well as the IP address, and additional status indicators for the internal and external memory. For GPS status, you get all of your basic GPS needs, your local time, satellites in use, longitude, latitude, height, status, your PDOP, HDOP, as well as your horizontal and vertical RMS values. You can see your station number that you're connected to for base, as well as the base longitude, latitude, and height. And you also can see your antenna type as well as your antenna height. Under the Satellites tab, everything in green will be what will be used in the solution, and everything in white is what's also additionally being tracked. So as you can see right now, we're using 9 GPS, 10 Beidou, 7 GLONASS, and 7 Galileo in our solution. And we're tracking 9 GPS, 10 Beidou, 8 GLONASS, 8 Galileo, and 3 SBAS satellites. On the second portion of this tab, the satellite skyplots. Under this, you'll see that there's GPS, SBAS, GLONASS, Galileo, and Beidou all being tracked and represented here. This is a great way to kind of know what directions each satellite vehicle is located in reference to the R632. When heading is included on the R632, when it's activated for heading, you will also have the ability to see the compass. This covers both the heading as well as the course over ground. Under reference station, this gives you the option to input all of your information to set this up as a reference station. It gives you marker types, receiver number, country code, site ID, time zone, and your HTTP server port. Allows you to select your working mode, adjust your antenna type. Right here we have a drop-down list of different antenna types. If you don't see the antenna you're using, you can create a custom and input all the height measurements and everything here. Also, you can adjust your coordinate systems, whether it be a geodetic coordinate system or you want to do a Cartesian coordinate system. That can all be input here as well, along with your antenna height. GNSS configuration. This allows you to enable 1 PPS. You can enable or disable Beidou, GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, QZSS, SBAS, Atlas, or run in RTK mode, either a normal mode or a SureFix mode, which is usually used in a survey type environment. For tracking satellites, this is a list of all the satellites that can be tracked or can be used. We don't typically ask people to stop tracking specific types of satellites. But if you're advanced enough in the system and you know exactly what you need and there's a particular satellite in your area that causes issues, this is an area where you can turn that particular satellite off from being tracked to give yourself the best outcome. Again, if you have a heading activation, this page will come up. And this is the ACC 90 and ACC 180 values. The ACC 90 and 180 values are in reference to the gyro that's installed on the R632. The orientation in which the R632 is mounted affects how the gyro reacts. So you'll have to consult your user guide and make sure that the orientation in which you're designing or mounting the R632 in will actually meet the ACC 90 and 180 values, whether it needs to be yes, no, or yes, yes. All those need to be adjusted based off the user guide and the orientation in which you mounted the R632. Additionally, when messing with the ACC 90 and 180 values, be very, very careful. This needs to be on a very static and stable area, because when you submit these changes, it does do a tilt calibration which calibrates the internal gyro. So please be very careful when adjusting these and consult your user guide. And if you have any other questions, please consult the Hemisphere Tech Support team. You can also change roll, neg tilt, gyro weight on, level, and then also move base. A note on move base is it does only work if you have multi-frequency. So please be careful with that. Otherwise, you'll have to input a specific MSEP yourself. CSEP is the internal calculated separation of the two antennas. MSEP is a manual measurement that you put in there for the separation of the two antennas as well. And then you also have your P bias, H tau, and your course over ground and speed tau. Under NTRIP server, now this is where we get into our different NTRIP options. You can have what is currently here being transmitted data out. So Scottsdale RTCM32 is being transmitted out. You have 3 options to set up 3 different servers off of this one device. You can input your name, server address, server port, as well as your password and mount point name, and the type of data you want to transmit out. as well as the interval and the ephemeris frequency, and you can auto connect. If for some reason you break and want to reconnect, it's an easier way to set it up this way. So recording, this is when you want to log, if you want to log raw data. You can set your path type, file name, system names, your intervals, as well as if you want to push it out to an FTP, you have a full option here to do FTP server address, your server port, as well as your username and password, along with a built-in Rhinex converter. You can convert to 3.02 all the way back to 2.10, and then you can input your antenna phase center and also push it out to an FTP site if necessary. Port configuration, this is one of my favorite parts of the R632, is a very simple and easy to use port configuration option. You can set up the Bluetooth, UHF, COM1, COM2, COM3 are all RS485 or RS232 serial ports. You can set up your N-trip client as well as your N-trip caster on here, as well as you have 5 dedicated TCP/IP sockets to set up as servers. So right now you can see we have a caster set up with a port of 2101, and then also we have a server set up at the 600 or 6000 IP port operating NEMA messages. So it's fun, it's easy to use, and you can input all the basic information here. Under network, this is where you can have either a wired connection or a wireless net connection or a mobile network set up. Also, underneath here we have the wired setup piece here, and then we have the wireless net setup. This is actually the setup for hotspot right now. So if you're within the vicinity of the R632, you connect through any URL, you connect through the Wi-Fi hotspot, and then you input the 192.168.10-1, and that will bring you to the web UI, which you have right here. Dynamic DNS, this is if you want to set up a specific DNS. If you have a custom DNS you want to input, you can set it here. Or we have some of the more available or more commonly used DNSs in here. It will require obviously your host name, username, password, and your URL in this custom situation. FTP server, again, if you want to enable access to the FTP, you can actually set the username and password here. NTP server, this is if you want to set up any type of NTP service, you can input all the information here. For remote debug, this is typically used for Hemisphere to try and debug or find any known issues with the system, not commonly used by customers. The SNMPD, this is specifically if you have a network management software that you want to set up here for certain alerts or trapped IP addresses in terms of any device issues you have. You can set up this here. Under the firewall, you can either set up a blacklist or a whitelist, allowing people you wouldn't want, certain IP addresses you wouldn't want having access to this, or only certain IP addresses you want to have access to it. So this is where you can enter all that information. Some additional information now here is we have alerts. You can set up an alert system to ping you as an email or even as a text. Certain areas where these alerts are popular is if you want to see the temperature is above a certain limit, or if there's an internal disk space, if your logging is getting too full, or your GNSS satellite drop below a certain amount, or there's a difference between your coordinates and base coordinates of a certain distance. These are all items you can be select and have them alert you either through an email or through a text through the system. Registration, the GNSS board registration, this is where you can input your activations or your subscriptions, and it'll output exactly what you're capable of using. Again, like I said before, this one's 20 Hertz, RTK, raw data, multi-frequency, multi-GNSS, and heading. Configuration set. This is kind of an interesting one. What you can do with this is actually all the configurations you have set right now for the system. you can actually download and keep a file of that on hand. And if later on you have an issue with the system, you can upload that same configuration file and reconfigure the system almost instantaneously. So it's a really great to have if you're just a dealer or distributor or somebody that you send out a specific setup, that you can ensure that that setup is exactly the way you left it when you sent it to the customer. So additionally, we have downloads. This is where you have your internal and external download. You can either push it out to an FTP, you can package it up to download, or you can actually delete it from this page. And then system management. This is the system manager where you can actually upload files, whether it be GNSS files or WebUI files or any updates to any of the firmware. It can be done here, as well as you can record any app logs, OS logs, or net logs. And you can also adjust and change your password for the whole WebUI. And you also have options here for self-test. You can reset the device. You can factory reset the device, as well as format the internal disk. And you actually have another option to change languages if necessary. And then you can log out. So that's the basic rundown of the R632 WebUI. So Hemisphere's support includes an easy-to-use Atlas portal to request and receive activations of subscriptions. Our team of specialists and engineers offers support for integration efforts related to GNSS and software. The Hemisphere support team continues to grow over the years, and we now offer a global technical team to help with any questions which may come up. For more information on the R632 and the complete Hemisphere GNSS product line, please reach out to Martin DeKevitt or the Hemisphere sales team. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. Please reach out to the sales team or anybody else if you have any other questions, and thank you for your time.